Good evening and welcome to the third and final meeting this evening. My name is Dennis Buckley, Mayor of the City of Beech Grove, and at this time we will convene our City Council members. And in lieu of a roll call, I will ask each council member to identify themselves. Start to my far right. Dave?
Dave Mobley, City Councilman at Large.
Dave Harrison, City Councilman, District 5.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Ed Bell, District 2.
Kathy Coates, Council at Large.
I received an email from Councilman Davison who has an excused absence due to the reserve military training. So he will not be with us this evening.
And Mayor, John Jennings called me, and there was a situation at work that is going to be held, so he would not be
And
coming
Councilman Stewart emailed me to let me know she wouldn't be here also.
We'll enter those into the record. This time we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. The minutes have been presented to you. At this time, the floor is open for comment or corrections. If there are no comments or corrections, I ask for a motion to approve as presented.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the public comments. We've had one person sign up to speak, Susan McMillan.
No, I was going to speak at the Board of Works.
Okay. Is there anyone here who would like to speak, address the council? If not, we'll move on to old business. General Ordinance number 34, 2012 is up for second reading, and I'll ask to waive the rules to read by title only. Need a motion.
I'll make said motion, Mayor.
We don't have a 34 on our back.
Yeah, that's probably last time.
Dave or I.
I left mine at home.
Okay. That's all right.
Yeah, we had a motion to read General Ordinance number 34 by title only. Need a second.
I'll say.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. General Ordinance number 34, 2012 is up for, it's an ordinance adding Chapter 79 golf carts to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana. It's up for second reading. Approval. Need a motion to approve on second reading.
With the amendments that were made.
There was no
We
amendment.
haven't made any amendments yet.
There weren't any.
There was no amendments. No, they did it by title only. So I need a motion to approve on second reading. Is there anybody willing to make a motion to approve on second reading? If not, I will declare it as defeated and I will remove it from the agenda. General Ordinance number 35, 2012. I ask for a motion to waive the rules to read by title only.
I move, read by title only, number 35.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
General Ordinance number 35, 2012 is an ordinance that amends Chapter 150, Building Codes of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove, Indiana. This time I'll ask for a motion to approve on second reading only.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, the same sign. General Ordinance 35, 2012 passed on second reading. We will hear it on third and final reading at the December 3rd meeting. New business, general ordinance number 36, 2012 is an ordinance that amends Article number 14 of the employee handbook pursuant to attendance. This time I will defer to our city attorney for explanation prior to the ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. This is one in several ordinances that will be coming before the council in the coming weeks to amend the city's personnel manual. I don't think it's probably been amended in any significant fashion in years. We picked attendance as being the first one. I thought it would be appropriate to set forth some specific rules and expectations for city employees. In addition, for purposes of ADA, I want to make sure that attendance is an essential function of any position, so that's never an issue in any legal dispute we may have. But in any event, I think this is pretty comprehensive, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
My question would be related to other municipalities. Is it comparable? Because it seems very lenient as compared to some corporate policies on attendance. So that's why I was asking.
Can you give me an example of what you mean by lenient? I mean,
As far as like calling in 15 minutes after your shift starts rather than, an hour before your shift starts, or, tardies. And I get that they accumulate. One tardy doesn't, there's just little bits and pieces. But that was the one that really stuck out to me, that you can call in after you were supposed to be there, not before you were supposed to be there. You get what I'm saying?
Let's, why don't we read the ordinance, and then this will be first reading, and then you can amend the ordinance. If there's something that the council doesn't like and would like to change, then we can amend the ordinance.
Yeah, I just thought, well, maybe this is just a municipality type thing rather than a corporate thing. I know where, what the roots of it were, so that's all I have.
not necessarily.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll introduce general ordinance number 36, 2012 for first reading, and I will defer to the clerk to read the ordinance, please.
General ordinance number 36, 2012. General ordinance number 36, 2012 is an ordinance that amends Article 14, employee behavior, Section 10 of the City of Beech Grove Personnel Manual of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, pursuant to attendance. Whereas all attendance records are subject to an annual audit by the State Board of Accounts, and whereas all full-time, part-time, and seasonal employees are mandated to have an attendance record on file, and whereas full-time elected officials, including but not limited to the mayor, the clerk treasurer, and the judge of the city court, are not required to maintain an attendance record, and whereas it is desire of the city to maintain accurate and comprehensive records of all employees, all attendance records must be signed by each employee's supervisor. Now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, finds cause to update the City of Beech Grove's personnel manual pursuant to attendance. Be it further ordained that Article 14, employee behavior, Section 10, unauthorized absence and tardiness, be deleted in its entirety and replaced with the following. Section 10, attendance. Attendance is an essential function of any job, including your job with the city. The city depends upon you to work when you're scheduled and expects you to arrive on a timely basis. Of course, there are reasonable and understandable circumstances that influence attendance from time to time. However, it is the city's expectation that you arrive to your scheduled shift in a timely manner and that you perform your job to the best of your ability. If it becomes necessary to leave the premises during your scheduled shift, please notify your supervisor as soon as possible. An employee will be charged with an absence when they fail to report to work for their scheduled shift. Similarly, employees who leave early, report late, or extended authorized break periods past their official or approved limits will be charged with an incident of tardiness or a partial absence. A non-exhaustive list of absences that will be charged as an occurrence include failure to report to work due to an illness, accident, or emergency. Absences that will result in any occurrence charged include jury duty, military duty, inclement weather, approved leave as defined by the Family and Medical Leave Act, FMLA, or work-related emergencies as recognized by your supervisor. If you need to schedule a particular day off work, or if you anticipate arriving at work late on a particular day, please notify your supervisor as soon as possible. Similarly, if you know or anticipate an absence due to a scheduled doctor's appointment, vacation, jury duty, or other impending absences that is foreseeable, please notify your supervisor or your impending absence immediately. The city reserves the right to require appropriate documentation of any absence, including the right to have an employee submit a doctor's note or undergo a job-related physical examination at the city's expense by a physician of the city's choice. If you are absent for work for 3 consecutive days, you must present a signed doctor's release to your supervisor before you are permitted to return to work. Unsatisfactory attendance will result in disciplinary action up to and including suspension and/or termination of employment. Employees who are tardy within a 3-month period or absent without authorization 1 day within a 3-month period shall receive a warning letter from their supervisor. Said letter will be permanently retained in the employee's personnel file. Further tardiness and/or inexcused absences will be met with suspension or dismissal. Accumulating a record of excessive absences or tardinesses will have an adverse effect on any employee request for a transfer or promotion, as well as pay raise considerations. In circumstances of an unforeseen absence or tardiness, if you are going to be absent or late to your scheduled shift, you must contact your supervisor at his or her designated work telephone number no later than 15 minutes after the commencement of your shift. You will be expected to explain the reason for your absence, incident of tardiness, and your anticipated date time of return. Failure to report to work for 3 consecutive days without notifying your supervisor, no call, no show, is cause for termination of employment. Upon returning to work from an excused absence, the employee must report to his or her supervisor and disclose the reason for his or her absence. If the reason is accepted as valid, no disciplinary action will be taken against the employee. If, however, the reason is not acceptable, the employee will be disciplined in accordance with the city's progressive discipline policy. All appointed employees, both full-time and part-time and seasonal, are required to maintain an attendance record on a form approved by the State Board of Accounts. Such forms will be made available upon request. Be it further ordained that the Common Council of the City of Beech Grove finds cause to change City of Beech Grove Personnel Manual. Be it further ordained that this ordinance only pertains to the attendance policy of the City of Beech Grove. Be it further ordained that this ordinance goes into effect immediately upon passage by the Common Council, attested by the Clerk Treasurer, and signed by the Mayor.
Floor is open for comment.
I guess I'm confused because the policy manual is what it is, but then the council creates ordinances that contribute to that manual. Is that how the?
Yes.
Maybe that's where I'm confused. I need to, may I see that manual? As a
I don't
whole?
have it with me, but
But, you know,
Absolutely,
so that
yes.
then I know what I'm affecting, I guess. Maybe that would clear up some of my questions, perhaps.
there's nothing in the manual right now that addresses attendance.
Nothing at all. Okay. And then back to my point about, just, because it's confusing to me in that it's like you get a warning letter, okay, I get that, if your first occurrence or whatever, that's typical. And then it says further tardiness or unexcused absences is maybe termination, but then later it says excessive. Well, when is it excessive and when, is it 1, 2, 3 strikes or?
It's excessive after one time in a 3-month period.
Okay,
Because if you're tardy, the first time you're tardy, you get a verbal consultation.
okay,
And then if you are tardy again within the 3-month period,
that's your second strike,
then it goes into what they call written reprimand.
right?
And then it goes from there to suspension and then dismissal.
So that, okay, I guess I just need to be more clear on what the actual disciplinary process is.
Now, what happens is, after a 3-month period,
Then it
if it
starts.
happens again, the department head can bypass the procedures and go directly to dismissal. That's up to the department head, and then that would come in front of the Board of Works.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay.
But the council is the one who sets the policy.
I got you.
For
Okay.
all of the things in the personnel manual, it's dictated by ordinance and by what the council wants to see.
Okay, that makes sense. So if I just had that manual, then that would be helpful to me. And
Has,
if it's online or whatever, no, okay.
has this been a problem as far as attendance, or is it just something we're wanting to clarify better?
Both. We want to clarify it and make it more structured, but in the past, there have been employees who never took attendance. And that is not accurate either. Every employee should take attendance.
Can I ask a question? Sorry. How many steps do you have in your discipline policy, and what are they?
4,
What are they?
verbal, which is talking, then a written reprimand, then a suspension with pay or without pay, and then dismissal.
There's a suspension with pay?
Depending on what's happened. And that is strictly at the judgment of the department head.
Sometimes you want to suspend somebody with pay because that way they can't show us an adverse employment action. So that's why you leave them with the discretion on whether to do it with or without pay.
Because, well, I'm sorry, Craig, I didn't hear you.
Because if you pay them, if you suspend without pay, if they were to go litigate this, they can establish that there was an adverse employment action, which is one of the prima facie elements of any termination case. So sometimes, and I know this was been the case at least once, where there's been a suspension with pay, so a particular employee can't come forward and say that, I've been adversely affected. Well, they haven't. Yes, they were suspended, but they were paid for the suspension.
Well, I'm like Kathy. Is this different for municipalities? Because any place I've ever worked, I don't know that you've ever gotten paid for being suspended. I don't think
I've
I've
seen
ever
it.
heard of that. Really? I mean, non-union stuff. Like if you just work at a corporation or something, I've not seen that.
Oh, I don't know it. See, I don't know anything about private, just in municipal.
Yeah. I'm like Kathy, I think municipal is different.
There must be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think
Now, I want to get back to Kathy's question on the 15 minutes after your shift. Any job that I've worked at, and I've worked at quite a few, you're late, you're late.
Sure.
For one. Second, you should already know that you're going to be not coming to work. Even a couple hours before. Emergency will happen,
of.
but
Flat tire or
sickness
something, but
and
yeah,
and so forth like that.
yeah.
To have a job that, the city is depending on, or anyone depending on that person to be there, to plow our streets or pick up the trash or something like that, you gotta shuffle around to try to get someone to fill that position. And since we're really, in tight situation of lack of employees on some of the, departments, that really is
One of the
critical.
reasons for this is do you want to hold somebody back?
Yeah, but
Where are you?
If
You
you
know?
have a flat tire or something, yeah, I
Yeah,
call right away. I mean, I'm running late, I have a flat tire, I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
But
right.
do we wait automatically 15 minutes? Oh, is he gonna show up, or is she gonna show up? or
No,
I
you
don't know.
call at the time he's supposed to be there, he or she's supposed to be there. Where are you at?
Right.
Right.
But if you're sick, it seems like an hour or two ahead of time you would already know.
Yes, this is for tardiness.
Yeah, oh, okay, well, that's unclear to me then,
Yeah,
okay.
well, what did I say that?
Okay, well then, just with some work, I understand where you're, but yeah, that policy manual, if there are other things coming that we're gonna be doing that's gonna affect that, that would be really helpful for us to have that.
The policy, the handbook needs to be updated.
So, and if we're gonna have a part in that, then that would be great to have. Just a request. Thank you.
You've heard General Ordinance number 36, 2012. First reading. It's time to move to a recommendation to approve.
I'll make a set recommendation to approve only on the first read, so we can further
Second?
investigate.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign.
Well, I approve conditional upon the receipt of, so yes, I'll say I approve, and aye.
We will go to second reading on December the 3rd. General Ordinance 37, 2012 is up for first reading, and it pertains to employees who resign and desire to become reemployed with the city. I'll defer to Clerk Treasurer to read the ordinance.
General Ordinance number 37, 2012. General Ordinance number 37, 2012 is an ordinance that amends Chapter 37, Section 3708 of the City of Beech Grove Personnel Manual pursuant to employees who resign employment as desire to become reemployed with the City of Beech Grove. Whereas from time to time, employees leave employment with the city to pursue other job opportunity, both in municipal government and private sector. And whereas former employees may desire to seek employment opportunities within the City of Beech Grove either on a full-time basis or a part-time basis. And whereas the city has a right to not rehire any previous employee based on their previous employee record. And whereas former employees who have had a good attendance record were good employees could be given an opportunity to return to employment. Now therefore, be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, desires to amend Chapter 37, Section 37.08 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove. Be it further ordained that the Common Council desires to amend Chapter 37, Section 37.08 of the Code of Ordinance to read as follows. Amend Chapter 37, Section 37.08, resignations. If an employee resigns of his or her own accord, the employee's tenure is terminated as of his or her last working day. If the employee is later rehired, he or she shall become considered a new employee. If the employee was disciplined in the disciplinary process with time off without pay or terminated during their tenure with the city, the employee is not eligible for rehire. If an employee was disciplined with a verbal or written warning during their tenure, it will be at the discretion of the department head and the Board of Works and Safety if the employee is to be rehired. Now therefore be it ordained that the Common Council of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana desire to amend Chapter 37, Section 37.08 of the Code of Ordinances. Be it further ordained that this ordinance only applies to former employees who may desire to seek employment with the City of Beech Grove. Be it further ordained that this ordinance should go into effect 60 days after passage of the Common Council, attested by the Clerk Treasurer and signed by the Mayor.
Comments
from council members?
Me again. Me again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just trying to make sure, if someone leaves on June 1st, they return September 20th. Do they start over again, but they keep the time they had prior? Right, they're completely new again. They lose everything when they left. There's no come back within 90 days, 120 days, 6 months. Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
They start over. And sometimes you have good employees who leave,
Right.
and then they want to come back, and, well, they're good employees, and then you have some employees who were not good employees, and you really don't want to rehire these people.
Sure.
But there's nothing that,
Right, I just wanted to make sure, like, you couldn't leave for 2 or 3 months and go, oh, the grass isn't greener, I'm coming back, and then keep all your seniority and all that. So it does stop when you leave. Okay. Okay, thank you.
any other questions or comments by council members? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve General Ordinance number 37, 2012 on first reading.
I'll make said motion, Mayor.
Second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. We will hear general ordinance number 37, 2012 on second reading only, December the 3rd. General ordinance number 38, 2012 is up for first reading. General ordinance 38, 2012 pertains to parking on Albany Street between 17th and 15th. At this time, I'll defer to the clerk to read the ordinance, please.
General ordinance number 38, 2012. General ordinance number 38, 2012 is an ordinance that amends Chapter 78, parking schedules, Section 1, parking prohibited of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, pursuant to prohibited parking on the north side of Albany from 15th Street to 17th Street. Whereas in Chapter 78, Section 1 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, parking is prohibited on the north side of Albany from 15th to 17th Street, and whereas recently Albany Street was resurfaced as part of the roundabout construction project, and whereas with the new construction, parking is now permitted on the north side of Albany from 15th Street to 17th Street, and now therefore be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana, that Chapter 78, Section 1 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana be amended. Be it further ordained that the Common Council of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana finds cause to amend Chapter 78, Section 1 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Beech Grove, Indiana to read as follows. Delete the following: parking restricted. Street, Albany, from 15th Street to 17th Street on the north side. Albany Street from 15th Street to 17th Street on the south side. Be it further ordained that the Common Council finds cause to change the parking pattern in the area designated above. Be it further ordained that all ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Be it further ordained that this ordinance shall become effective 60 days after passage by the Common Council, tested by the clerk treasurer and signed by the mayor.
You've heard general ordinance number 38, 2012. Questions or comments? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve on first reading only.
Only seven.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't have streets, we have avenues. So the language in that ordinance is incorrect.
Albany's a street.
15th
15th.
Street and
On 15th Street?
And 17th Street. So that needs to be amended if that's the case.
15th is not a street?
All of our numbered streets are avenues.
Okay.
First Avenue to, they're all avenues.
So we'll just need to-
I will remove the recommendation to approve on first reading. I'll ask for a motion to amend general ordinance number 38 to change 15th Street to 15th Avenue
17th Street to 17th.
and 17th Street.
I'll make said motion.
Second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, it's up for first, general ordinance number 38 is up for first reading. Need a recommendation to approve.
Well, I would say we need to approve it. That's all I make that motion.
A second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Move on to special ordinance number 11, 2012. Is that right?
Let's see. That's why I don't have a number for it, but I just call it tax anticipation.
Special ordinance pursuant to tax anticipation warrant. This time I will defer to our financial consultant, Jeff Peters. Jeff, could you run the council through the process of applying for and the ordinance pursuant to tax anticipation warrant?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. As you have had to do for as long as we've been the financial advisor, and I'm sure long before that, is issue a tax anticipation warrant, which is basically a cash flow loan for you to have sufficient funds on hand to cover the checks that you write out, in that the bulk of your revenue is received in the late June tax distribution and the late December tax distribution. You may get interim payments throughout January to June and July through December, but the bulk of your distribution comes at the end of those two periods. As a unit of government, you have to pay the expenses that you've agreed to in your budget between January and June and July and December, even though you don't get the bulk of the money until the end of that period. So this is the function that you have to do along with a whole slew of other units of government. Last year, you made the decision to go with the Indiana Bond Bank so that you would be part of a much larger pool of local government units in Indiana that go out and sell their tax warrants. The advantage to this is you have smaller interest charges and professional fee charges by going with the bond bank. Previously in your budget, I think the estimate may have been in the range of $75,000 to $90,000 that you had for interest for the course of the year. And now I think we're down to, what is it, $25,000 or $30,000 range?
The interest is 1.02%.
Yeah, it's ridiculously low interest, and again, the issuance costs are borne by a bigger group. So this is the cheapest way that you can acquire those funds as a unit of government in Indiana. The amount this year, you do not have amounts in your ordinance at this point in time, and that is per the instructions of the bond bank. They're still in the process of doing their financial review of the cash flow worksheets that were presented by the city. This is the same as last year. They'll present you numbers probably in December. The anticipated amount is probably going to be around the $2.3 million number, which was a little less than what you did last year, or for 2012. So, same situation, same program, still the best deal that you can get, still something that you have to do in order to fund your expenditures. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And this money that council will approve will be available the first day of January?
Second.
The first business day
Yeah, first business.
of January, you'll get part of it for whatever you need to meet your first payroll needs. And final distribution of the whole amount, I think this year it happened January the 26th. So about the third week, they get the entire thing sold, get you your full distribution. But any interim funds that you need between the first business day of January and their distribution date, they will forward to you.
This is the contract with the bond bank. It's 120 some pages, but they will ask you to approve this. They will not have a dollar amount in there before you do third reading on this, because we'll do first now and then second, third, and they said that it would not be available, the interest rate or the dollar amount, until after that time, because they don't sell them until like 2 weeks before we actually get our money.
But again, it is a huge savings historically if we look at issuing a conventional tax warrant in this program. And I think last year we looked at yours prospectively, and the savings is $40,000 or $50,000. It's well worth doing.
Does the council have questions for Jeff Peters?
I was just making a comment that my recollection is that I know they don't put those numbers in till the very end, but we always waited to the very end to have that third and final approval, so we knew the numbers, like at the very end of the year.
Okay.
Do you recall that?
I don't, but then again, I'm not in that part of the process so much. It's one of those things, we send the numbers up to the bond bank,
Because I know we don't have-
legal counsel says, adopt this.
I mean, we do first and then we do second, and by the time we have the third reading, we know what the numbers are, just
Okay.
so.
And I'll tell you, based on the cash flows that were submitted, it's going to be right around 2.3 million.
Right. You
I
think
mean,
that's
that's
pretty?
the calculated deficit, that's what they're going to fund, and that's all they're going to fund.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, so unless we had something really strange come up that would alter those numbers, which I can't imagine.
The only thing they will give us is maximum amounts. They won't give us the actual amounts. And Brenda DeBreeze, the attorney for that subcontracts through the bond bank, told me we will not have numbers before third reading, because we'll do second, third reading on December the 3rd.
Yeah, but that's why we used to, I'm just like, past experience, we would wait until the end of December to have that third reading once the numbers were in.
Before you used Regions Bank, last year was the first time the Indiana Bond Bank has been used.
Right, and I'm just saying, we had numbers that we waited till we had the numbers to approve it. That's all I'm saying. And I don't care, I mean, I'm not gonna go against the flow, but I'm just making a comment.
Well, I personally think, I like it because we're out in front of it. And,
Well, I know we have to do it, there's no question about that. I just, like, it's like handing somebody a blank check. So I'm just a little, that's all, that's it. Just trying to
Susie?
be.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing he just said. I didn't think that they had gotten it through the Indiana Bond Bank before, have you?
Last year was the first year.
And don't they have different rules than everybody else?
They do, and that's why
Seems like
things have to be
government,
done ahead
Indiana
of
State and
time.
all that's always got different rules.
Yeah, and that's why they've got the 120-page contract, and you have to submit stuff ahead of time, and it's a longer process, but again, money-wise, it's cheaper.
Further questions by council or comments? If not, what I'd like to do is waive the rules to read the Bond Bank 2013 Advanced Funding Program ordinance by title only.
I'll make that motion, man.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll defer to the clerk to read the paragraph.
Okay. Indiana Bond Bank 2013 Advanced Funding Program Ordinance. An ordinance authorizing the city of Beech Grove, Indiana to make temporary loans to meet current running expenses for the use of the general fund, the debt service fund, the fire pension fund, and the police pension fund of the issuer in anticipation of and not in excess of current taxes levied in the year 2012 and collectible in the year 2013. Authorizing the issuance of temporary loan tax anticipation warrants to evidence such loans and the sale of such warrants to the Indiana Bond Bank, and appropriating and pledging the taxes to be received in such funds to the punctual payment of such warrants, including the interest thereon.
Thank you. I'll ask for a motion to approve on first reading the Indiana Bond Bank 2013 Advanced Funding Program ordinance.
Makes that motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. We will hear this on second and third reading at the December 3rd meeting. Thank you. Next on the agenda is transfers. I'll defer to the clerk treasurer.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do this. Yeah, I got it. Dear councilors, below is a request for transfers of monies in the appropriation. These transfers do not increase the budget, but instead are corrections to the current budget. Thank you for considering my request. Do you want me to read each individual one and vote on them, or just?
We'll do it all as one.
Okay. The mayor transfer $1,050 from the mayor's appropriation to insurance for PERF. Under the clerk, transfer $500 from appropriation PERF to the leases. Number 3, court, transfer $1,750 from appropriation number for the PERF to salaries. Number 4 in the court, transfer $500 from appropriation number, or appropriation print to salaries. Board of Works, transfer $7,000 from liability to contractual. Senior Center, transfer $90 from programs to contractual. Community Center, transfer $877.50 from electric to repairs. Transfer $1,350.01 from programs to a different program appropriation number. Parks, transfer $2,500 from appropriation from repairs to community center salaries. Transfer $1,000 from rentals to the community center salaries. Transfer $1,000 from rentals to the community center temporary salaries. Transfer $3,300 from temporary salaries to the community center temporary salaries. Transfer $2,150 from repairs to refunds and transfer $42.98 from repairs to the fireworks.
Questions or comments from board members, council members? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the transfers as requested.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next order of business is transfers from the fire department. Dan?
This from Rob, Fire Chief. I'm requesting to reappropriate funding in the following categories to ensure zero shortfalls before the end of the year. From the Fire Department sick day buyback in the amount of $16,178.09 to the Fire Department overtime. And the reimbursement of these funds from the deployment backfill personnel due to the Hurricane Sandy has been sent to Homeland Security. That's everything on that.
Motion to approve.
I'll make said motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That concludes new business. This time we'll have comments from council members, starting to my far right. Dave?
Just hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving and be safe.
I mean, I'm good.
Amy?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a comment since Councilman Davison is not here. We do have apps now for the Youth Council on the city web. So any high school student in the high school can grab an application, fill it out for the up-and-coming new Youth Council. And last but not least, happy Thanksgiving. Everyone be safe.
Kathy?
Nope. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope Veterans Day was good for everyone. Thank you to all the people who have served and are serving currently, and happy holidays.
Thank you. I have a couple of announcements. Going to cancel public hearing on the sewer rate proposal for December the 3rd, and I'm going to withdraw general orders number 32, 2012, pursuant to sewer adjustment rates until further study can be conducted. I intend on meeting with a group of attorneys after Thanksgiving to work on a couple of matters, and then I will bring a new ordinance forward to the council for consideration early next year. Paving project for 2012 is complete. We will begin in January to plan for the 2013 paving projects. About 3 weeks ago, ADM Milling, which is located at 845 Bethel, announced that they were going to expand their facility in Beech Grove. ADM Milling is a worldwide company, and they have 23 mills in the United States. We received a call from the president of ADM about 2 weeks ago notifying us that the mill in Beech Grove is going to be expanded. And it is the largest expansion in the history of the company. In about a month, they will begin construction on a $30 million mill. And that is wonderful news for this city, the school system, and the library. As more news unfolds, I will pass it on to everyone. They're very low-key about it. As a matter of fact, we were set for a little press conference, and it was canceled at their wish. But anyway, they've been with us since 1983, and they are a good corporate citizen. And this is probably as big as an announcement as we've had in 25 years as a city. And once they build this, I suspect that they will expand again. And the reason why, one of the reasons why we were chosen on behalf of the ADM is the old manager who's now in charge of program development with ADM, was a manager here for 15 years. He loved Beech Grove, and we beat out Chicago, St. Louis, Camp Hill, Pennsylvania, and a lot of it had to do with the cost of living. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that Beech Grove is a small town, and they felt much more comfortable doing business in a small setting than they did in Chicago, St. Louis. So we are the beneficiary of a wonderful gift, and we will do whatever we can to accommodate ADM. And hopefully that will be the first of about 3 or 4 announcements that will come over the next 6 months that will help further pursue our city. So wonderful news.
That's great.
Yes, great news. And we'll go from there. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion there.
The meeting is adjourned at 7:44 PM. We will reconvene on December the 3rd. And everybody have a happy